Welcome everyone to the 13th annual Winter Solstice Poetry Reading. I am Matt Birdsall. I am the former editor of the Mock Turtle Zine and a member of the Board of Trustees for Tecumseh Land Trust. I got through all that. I've missed doing that in the past. Thank you, Branson. Thank you. Really excited to have you all here, especially because I think our theme is particularly poignant. Stillness. Just a lot going on. So let's just take a moment and let's just enjoy ourselves and enjoy some words and some good company. I do want to take a brief moment and shamelessly self-promote the fact that I mentioned I was the editor of the Mock Turtle Zine. That publication has died. It's okay. It lived a good life. But I'm starting a new publication. I've actually already started it. It's called The Great Miami Review. If you are a writer in the audience and you have not yet received the inaugural submission call, holla at your boy, because I will let you know what you need to do in order to be considered for the first issue, which is really exciting. A great team of local creatives have come together, and yeah, we're jazzed to say the least. Really want to say thank you first and foremost to the entire education committee at the Tecumseh Land Trust, especially Ann Randolph and Ed Davis. Yeah, simply would not be standing here. Thank you. Would not be here without the team. I would like to thank my partner, Melissa Bautista, for putting together this wonderful program. And last but not least, I would like to thank Channel 5 for being here, as well as Riley Dixon at the Yellow Spring News for the article and the recent edition. And before we get started, I do want to have Michelle Burns and Betty Ross step out here and say a few words as to why we're here to support Tecumseh Land Trust and the Glen Helen Association.
Speak with me. Come on. We can stand together. Well, thank you all for being here. Thank you, Matt. This is just such a great collaboration between Tecumseh Land Trust and Glen Helen Association that we have put together for 13 years. It's such an exciting event. I love it whenever we can bring nature and art together. So thanks for coming out on this chilly night during a part of the year when we often forget to thank and honor our Mother Earth because maybe we don't like what she's giving us. But tonight we will do that. Matt's thanked everybody that I wanted to thank, so I won't do that again, except for to say thank you to all the remarkable poets who are going to share their talents with us tonight. We really appreciate your time and talents here. Just to say, if you don't know much about Tecumseh Land Trust, we are a conservation land preservation organization dedicated to preserving land in Clark and Greene County. You can learn more about us through our newsletter that we have out here in the entryway. You can talk to any of our staff, volunteer, and board members who are here tonight, or go to our website. I don't want to talk to you too much about what we do, but we are very proud of the work that we've done to preserve 37,000 acres in our service area. So. And your generous donations tonight benefit both of our great organizations, so we thank you for that because conservation work is so important and we've got a little bit of a road ahead of us, I believe. So thank you for your generosity, and I'm going to turn it over to Betty.
Boy, she was very brief. I guess I have to follow suit. I don't know how much you know about Glen Helen, but we are obviously an over 1,000-acre nature preserve and a wonderful place for hiking, miles and miles of hiking, a place where you can come. And this is the busy area up here with scenic things and so on. But if you want to get away from people, we have a lot of acreage down south that goes down, and you can head down that way and sit there and not see another soul for hours. So we have a lot of different things that are here, a lot of hiking and so on. But we also are a wonderful environmental organization. So we have the Outdoor Education Center, which has been residential training and outdoor camps and summer camps, eco camp, and training for naturalists that has gone on for years and years. Very, very important. And I figure enjoying nature is wonderful. I do it every day. But learning about nature makes people want to protect it. And that's what we're trying to do at the Outdoor Education Center. So we think we've got a lot of good things going. And of course, the Raptor Center is special. I spent 30 years there. So, and that has a lot going for it too. But we appreciate you being here. I am very fortunate to be on both boards. So I'm wearing both of my name tags. And if you didn't know it, Glen Helen, TLT holds an easement on the whole of Glen Helen. So we know that we are protected forever. Thank you.
I think it's a good time to take a moment of silence to recognize the fact that we are gathering tonight on native lands. All right, thank you. Without further ado, I would like to introduce our first poet, Jane Blakelock.
Good evening. I'm very happy. Speaking of native lands, in 2022, I spent a little time in other native lands in northern New Mexico. And if you've ever been there or know anything about it, it is a landscape that seems to conjure spirits. It did for me, and it was a time of just after immense number of forest fires had been raging in the area. So this is called Those Hungry Ghosts. That swarm of hungry ghosts orbiting. Is Emily's an orbiting ghost? Little Emily Jane's, that lovely, lovely face, that Inuit baby, first baby with all that hair, though of course, babies generally lose first hair, that film, those stones, that almost always abandoned grave, and still denying the dead. Why, of course they haunt, as the scrub jay flies up into the poplar. They haunt as the rain blows toward from an opposite ridge. They haunt as coyotes cross pasture in cunning March snow, as flames threaten through summer smoke. Make your go list before your babes go to horizons ceded to ghosts. This is a little closer to home. Do I need to turn this down a little? I think it's, yeah, thank you. This is about living at the edge of town, where nature and the neighborhoods meet and pass one another by and lead us into other areas. Okay, Edge neighborhood, 10 a.m. The doe is about to bisect my path through raised beds of roses and lamb's ear and purpling sage amid asphalt. Empty-handed, I've left my full heart in a large flat rate box at the corner post office. Dark nose brushing air, her hooves click at arm's length, my breath caught from the start of her rounding the artisan's purple building. I freeze as she cuts her perfect angled slice beside me, jogs the walk and heads down Corey, lifting tail, then dashing quick across Route 68, where amid this aging truck route intersection, 4 pedestrians amble, walking south to north, not on the walk, but in the street itself, up 68 and heading into town. They see the deer, Whoa, says the woman with the Claudette Colbert, Cleopatra bangs and page boy, retro chic and cropped jeans. All four slow a bit, at first because they've seen the northbound car, the small red coupe approaching from the south. Where are they from? These four abreast characters straight from a Rod Serling set, daring the traffic light to change to slow, to halt the car, to yield to their entirely cinematic step, to stop. But now there's the deer, too, to consider. Oh, baby, oh, sweet, hurry, honey. Indulgently, indolently, they clear one lane, still languid in the other, calling out to urge the deer. She needs no one's enticement, keeps her footing and her pace. She clears the curb, darts into the small lot where the rail car used to be, seconds before the coupe glides through the unchanged green light. Out of sight, the deer will steer across the wide paved people path to jump the boarded-up entry of the Glen's northern end, reversing quickly south for deeper shelter. This one is also close to home, right out there, mostly, and is a meditation on last February, called February, when we had the complete range of weather within the month, as happens here. Today, a red belly wrangles the peanut wreath, prizing out nuggets from beige-fibered, waffle-stamped bulbs. Yesterday, he drummed briefly, rat-tatted his drill on a bedroom gable, red-bellied to raw eave underside. Now, a titmouse flits within the coiled ring. A downy gets a beakful of suet strung caged from the pine, while pairs of cardinals, orange beaks, startle rain and snow melt mirrors on the ground below. Their baths are crowned with terracotta chimney pots, red crests masked black, their mates in gray and dun ombre edged berry. This February fills with freeze and thaw. Deer have traipsed and sprawled upon suburban lawns, all nervy and proprietary, comfortable, like northern Yorkshire deer, native reds, in herds outside the stone brick chorister's house in Ripon, England. Likewise, at ease, Glen Helen's beavers weave their dam's accretion. The pond above is partly frozen, crisp atop the weir of braided branches laced in wattled gray. Old music penetrates below, a second tier where rivulets full bore spill down their strum into the water's thrum and pour. A sudden balm vaults temperatures near summers. Pre-March light is slighted by the sun outright, beamed brash upon bare skin. We are grateful and amazed, but wary too of purple-yellow bravery, that rampant gasp of crocuses, brazen before a turning wind sweeps on a dime to snatch us back from premature frivolity. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jane. That was outstanding. We are grateful and amazed. I would like to make an announcement. There is a Volvo outside with a license plate HVS 6865. Your lights are on. Next up, longtime friend of mine. We've done a lot of work together. Really excited to have you here, Fred. Our next poet is Fred Kirchner.
Good evening. I don't know if they keep track, but I know it's at least my second time. So I'm like super duper honored, like, because they asked me back, right? A lot of times you go somewhere, you can maybe not make the best impression, and they may not ask you back, but thanks, Matt. I went hiking, okay? I went to Sugar Creek Metro Park on the day of the first snow a couple weeks ago, put my Microsoft Microlight camp chair in the back of my backpack, took a thermos of coffee, found a spot right next to this creek where I could set my chair up and sit there alone and start a poem. That poem's not done. It was gonna even be called Stillness. And I knew I wanted to use that, faith is a fine invention while gentlemen can see, but microscopes are prudent in an emergency. Who's that? That's Emily Dickinson. I was going to use that for the epigraph. And it's like halfway done on my computer. But sadly, not here tonight. This poem's a little early because it's called Spring Fever, and we're like still a fortnight basically away from actual winter. But like, did anyone else have to move a big limb out of your driveway this week because the wind blew it down and it got really cold and my cat wouldn't come out of the closet? So I figured it might be all right. I'm a cyclist and I write poetry often about experiences on two wheels. This is one of these, and this is from the period when I was using little epigraphs that describe the weather on a ride. So, Spring Fever, Saturday, February 27th, 36 degrees. I'm just at the very tail end of a cold, and I just removed a cough drop, so I didn't want to have Matt trip over it later, or have it stick to his shoe. Spring Fever. The 4-item dryer load spins through a few quarters in Waynesville's only laundromat. Wool socks and shoe inserts stick to the hot metal drum, centrifugal force and cold little Miami River water holding them in place. A barefoot man alone sits on a stool, unwrapping his Subway, the bicycle parked against the counter. After ignoring pylons and the high water sign, he ducked under the hilltop backhoe blocking the road and pedaled through swollen river overflow. 6 inches of current, wide as a valley, flooded the low fields along Corwin Road. To thaw his stiffened knuckles, he puts down his lunch, walks to the dryer on the cool cement floor, lays hands on the warm glass circle, and stares into the dark whirling vortex. He loses a minute, or maybe a year there, peering into the depths. Something at the other end of the appliance portal called to him. A utopian vision replaced the map in his head of the cold, salt-dusted, blacktop ribbon leading home. During that 25-mile ride back, he'll pass more farm fields, dirt brown, ready to turn, flecked with gray remains of the harvest corn stalks, edged by barren trees. For months, winter sky has fit Ohio like an overcast skullcap, stretched too thin to keep out the icy wind. Wrote this for a group of 2nd and 3rd graders I used to teach. We were doing a unit on mythology. Lots of stillness. In fact, stillness gone awry, but not a lot of nature. Medusa, Medusa, your wild hissing mane makes me wonder. Who does your hair? Was it a herpetologist with horrific flair, or maybe a god with powers to spare? Whatever the case, I can't help but stare. And as I grow solid and turn into rock, the words start to come slower, and then my jaws lock. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Fred, and especially coming off of a cold. All right, coming up next, Amanda Banaszak.
All right, thank you. I have to adjust this a little bit. So I have been going through my old works to look for things that include elements of stillness. And this, while not necessarily, is called the still. I thought I would start with that. And it feels appropriate, this first stanza. My heart is beating like something a heart has never been compared to before. A drum's been done, as has a baby bunny hidden in the tall grass. And I'm pretty sure that everyone's hearts have thrown themselves against their ribs like King Kong trying to get out of a cage. Maybe I just want my heart to knock, as in, my heart was knocking around downtown and found this musty book of verse. And my heart has been knocked down and around, even knocked up. And I'm shocked I survived the birth. The urge is to compare something to what it exactly isn't, to better demonstrate what it really could be. My heart, a scabbed knee. My love, a tire iron. These quilted jelly jars, all possibilities. Words, corn mash, poetry, moonshine. Thanks. So I have worked most of my adult life with people in transition. There was a while I was a doula for people giving birth, and I also had a really meaningful experience working with Hospice of Dayton for 6 years, doing massage therapy. So you'll see these elements quite a bit in these poems. This one I want to share was my first triumph in town. When I moved to town in '97, Glen Garden Gifts had a poetry contest, and you could win first, second, third, and you got a bouquet of different values, and this was my first place win. Woohoo! It's called Knowing. And anyway, I'll quit trying to preface or explain. Knowing. This will all end, maybe like the picture from Pompeii you tell me about. The family, mother, father, child in bed, maybe caught there, but probably you say they saw it coming and laid down, knowing nothing better than being together. This will all end maybe in some other way I can't imagine, can't guard against, can't choose, can't anticipate, can't fear. This will all end, but I guess what I want most to write about is you at the dinner table, your head bowed, asking for safety, clarity, time, with a magical combination of words that all but guarantees this scene will be repeated tomorrow night, and the next, and the next. And how I still pray that before the ashes start to fall, before I forget to love you all desperately, even for 1 second, before death steps out of the audience and pulls one of us off the stage, all of this will never end. Let me see. To change gears, this is a poem called Mystery School, and this speaks more to some of my experience with birth. Mystery School. There are pictures now of small, grayscale human faces pressed against silk-strong, fibrous folds of tissue canvas. They are inches away from the outside world, this you fill in the blank, earth. Look, here capitalization matters, as in small m mystery or big M mystery. Like a woman sweating and crying and heaving in a room where there are 4 others, and with a shout or a whimper, there are now 5 others. A glistening example of many of the good M words, mighty, magical, majestic, miraculous, even monstrous. Listen, A woman is not a flesh tank. And a baby is not a sea creature waiting to be fished out with a soggy mesh net. The catch of the day dropped into joyful or frightened or elated or resentful arms. The first mystery, that there is anything at all. A few of the next. The womb, a scarlet mauve satchel, but also a nebula, stacks and folds itself back to nearly its former size. The heart, a muscle measurable in mass and output, smooths and stretches the material of the universe so the edge, unreachable already, is further away. And then I think I'll end with this poem, which when I moved to Yellow Springs, it was the first time, many of you may be familiar with the Wee Moon, I ever saw this book. And so it was exciting to be published in the 2018 version of the Wee Moon. And my poem called Love's Living Will. I wrapped my love in a red bandana and tied it to an old smooth broom handle. I packed my love in a cardboard copy paper box and covered it with crumpled newspaper. I secured my love in a black leather briefcase with a brass handle and an 8-digit code. I folded my love into a tidy clutch purse with a tube of bright lipstick that really wasn't my color. It has grasped and stuck like a blackberry bramble to the ragged denim cuffs of one person who paused too long. It has revealed first its shoulder, then its knee, then a bare arm from behind a folded screen, like an amateur, an earnest burlesque dancer, and gasped and hummed when touched in that way for the first time, and the 5th time, and the 5,000th time. It has pulled one stone after another in front of its shallow cave and curled up into a ball with thick skin and sharp needles on the outside for what it thought was forever, and then been coaxed into swaying and grinning and showing soft belly, possibly courage, remembering what it likes by a person with sure hands and a sure heart. My love is one pre-Big Bang speck of dense, unfathomable mystery, held in a letter-size white envelope with milkweed seeds, stardust, and surrender. I want, when this is all over, that these grains and sparks are tipped into an open palm and cast high, to catch hold of a stiff breeze and spin out to swirl in nebulas, to chase barn swallows, to lift the corn silk hair of a child digging a hole in the sand of the beach, and to find a few bits of yours to bump and tumble with for approximately eternity.
Thank you so much. I always like to notice the thread that kind of ties together the different readings from our different readers. And it seems like there's a lot of beginnings and endings in the poem so far. I'm going to pull back and I'm going to read one by Bill Abbott. He was one of our scheduled readers. He's not going to be available to make it tonight, but I still want him to be represented here. This is one that I actually published in the Mock Turtle Zine quite a few years ago, but I think that it ties together, literally ties together the beginning and endings. It's called String Theories by Bill Abbott. You pull the string and the whole reality unravels. Where is the science behind a butterfly's wings, a meerkat's leer, an elephant's picnic, a snide stride down the staring contest with a slothful slink? What does a pulled thread have to reveal that the world is held together by duct tape, fishing wire, wishes on stars, spit, bondo, and glue? Why can't society drop anchor on a stability and kindness and humanity that would hold up to some string pulling? And if it's also loosely bound, why not just pull all the strings at once and see where we land? All right. Next up, Holly Bryans Ragusa.
Good evening. Thank you, Matt. Thank you, everyone, for putting this together. What a beautiful, sacred space. And yes, it's my car with the headlights on. Since we have a fewer readers, I was going to read 3 pieces, but would it be all right to read 4? All right. Thank you all. The first one is an older piece I reworked for today called Solstice Sky. O world, wrapping our own, skyward we journey, inviting your stars into our vision. Heaven's night, pin stuck with soft light. Luminous orb, wink a waxing eye from beneath coal cloak. Saturn, your far-flung seeds, flank Mars, that hot poker piercing the solstice sky. A fiery god, waging war still in King Jupiter's dance. Battle on, brilliant myth, plotted guides, embroidered gold, knotted in onyx silk. Storyboard woven into night's tapestry, hung in the great hall for all to see. Thank you. I'm not that tall. The boots are helping. Thank you. Okay, this one is on my phone. It's titled Seam Ripper. Woven, I walk with abandon, accompanied by the threads tied off and knotted into me, snipped close. Blossoms of loss, embroidered into the skin that occupies your absence, and yours, and yours, and yours. A teeming garden rapturously trampled and grown over by my steps, I walk, stepping on graves of you, and that, and when, and why. For you've all gone. And what is loss but pain and my teacher? Each hope and heartbeat fled this place one way or another, and I remain, stitched into my being, one needle's eye away from undoing, death threaded, coming alive in each puncture of your going, tatting the terrible into something true. For a weaver cannot live on one side of a cloth only, and knows gone is good too, if good exists. For it means we were here twisted in this tapestry, threaded not only onto this side, meant to be seen, but into the imperfect underbelly of our tangles and loose ties. And all I know is that all of it lives on, and each loss returns to me in who I am today. For one of us must remember both the seen and unseen, the doing and the undoing. And these last 2 I wrote for tonight. Zephyr. Drowned in this harried world, surfacing on our sinking sun, we attend night's fall. As the stagnant curtain lifts from our senses, fewer wheels spin, fewer feet drag pavement, and that constant exchange and exhaust reduce from regularity to rarity. Winded and sighing, we creep in with evening, the wind taking place center stage, gusts and whispers, waiting all day to be heard, call. The air pools, a leaf skitters, a zephyr skips our gaze skyward, across a sky alive with winter's chill. In this moment, one might ponder Barry's ships filled with the cargo of our youth, in clouds sailing across the moon. Night blows through, each breath reducing us to rarity beneath stars. We are silky breezes through screens, arriving ebullient in chilled chorus at each door. We open into warmth. Distilled into sing-song breath, we are silence and muffled murmuration. We rise and fall on news of the day. We are air carried on ventilation. Humming with overhead fans, we circle ourselves. We are stills and gales. We are the north wind, living in breezes on the pillow next to us. We are steady and startled, tethered and soaring in our beds. Roaring and waning, the westward wind rises and falls with our chest, filled and emptied, chilled and heated. For what is wind if not our breathing? Silence and sound and the moon's airy sail across an inky ocean. And my last one, if I can make sure I have everything together, yes. And thank you again, everyone, for including me. I feel honored from Cincinnati to be included in Yellow Springs Solstice celebration. It's very meaningful, and I'm grateful. Ritualistic. How many suns have risen on our worship, spreading warmth like no other blanket? Hearts will beat survivalist rhythms inside every dark forest, and limbs will break for freedom. Ice has always been met with fire, life met with dying. Overcoming nature is our nature. How many moons have witnessed our ignorance, our innocence, drunken on lust and man's might, veiled in nuance and naivete? Birth and death are misattributed. Seasons that have woven themselves into our living shorten our time with the moon and sun. As the sky speaks, we respond in accordance, offering, sacrifice, sanctuary. We are wood carved, holy throats slit, holly on the hearth, blood-stained stone. We are the babe left, the herb dried, the lock of hair perching on the wind. We are ceremonial intention passed across countless altar. We are wanting, and seats at tables we've never sat. Tradition languishing or made over, man is meaning ascribed. Man is religion. How many shadows have fallen on landscapes in our search for light? Mysticism lives in our linings, writes itself into our skin. Ritual is nature. For how many trees must we knock before leaving civil at the foot of ancient? Survival is not existence. It is belief and story retold, for we don't need to see the stars to know that they reach for us in darkness. Thank you.
We are wood carved. Maybe stillness is just balancing beginning and endings. Huh. Leroy, I don't see you. And now I do. Hi, Leroy. Our next poet is Leroy D. Bean, who I think just arrived, so I'm going to give him a pass. And I'm going to have Madeline Fisher come up and read for us next. Thanks, Madeline.
Thank you all for coming, and thanks for having me. I'll be reading some poems. A couple are from 2 of my books that are published, and a lot of these are about nature. So the first one is A Cool Autumn Day. It was a cool autumn day. The leaves had started to change colors, and the wind turned crisp and cool. I looked up at the sky and stared as if waiting for it to tell me something, as if the sky would give me all the answers I needed. But still, silence. I trailed along the sidewalk, letting my shoes drag against the ground. Usually, people walk with a destination in mind, but me, I walk to move. I walk until all of a sudden, the cool breeze tells me to stop and my heart is at peace. I walk down a path with trees that lean down, as if to kiss the ground with their leaves. I take a deep breath in and let the autumn air fill my lungs. I felt free. I felt one with the earth. I felt alive. And this next one is called A Deer's Point of View. As I look out into the field, I see a single deer. It looks at me and I look at it as it stands still in place. All of a sudden, it's just me and the deer, and I wonder how it got here. All of the journeys it has traveled on before it got to this field. I wonder how it sees humans, our unfailing need to be busy, to be loud, to be caught up in worries. Nothing like nature's animals that have no schedule and no worries that are in reality meaningless. Worries that hold us back. As the leaves fall in colors brown and orange, I drive down the twisty back roads of Ohio. I get out of my car and walk up the dirt path leading me towards the soul of the forest. It calls me to understand a profound feeling of peace, a feeling of life's problems becoming so simple, for in the forest all is free. This next one is called The Abandoned House. The abandoned house, the ones with no sound, no laughter, just silence, not one smile found. The memories fade and the floorboards sway, wincing in pain from the lifelessness made. No more feet pitter-pattering on the floor, feeding it with their warmth. No more candles to smell, just the rotten wood to tell the house it is no longer alive. The dark, empty windows telling stories of souls. The witch hand tree branches shivering in the cold. Not everyone bears to see the lifelessness these houses must breathe, till the day when it all falls down, soon disappearing, enveloped into the ground. All right, I got 2 more. This next one I wrote when I was looking back at couple of different works that I've done, and I realized that there were probably a lot of pieces that I will never get to see again, because sometimes, of course, we can be our own harsh critic and then delete things because we think they're not good enough. So this is called Sonnet to My Writings Lost. The words wrote, lost but etched beauty inside, meant for just me to consume and resume the memory of the words strung tightly. Can never rewrite it, though rightly so. Transferred from paper to my memory, inviting me to know pieces of it. What was once perfect, my heart can know that, can feel how it felt when those words were written. But it's time to let go, for they are gone. Yet it still lingers in my memory, the feelings all still lingering inside. By my lovely words trailed off in the past, by my lovely words your feelings shall last. Goodbye, goodbye, farewell, farewell, goodbye. And my last one is called My Soul Lies with Autumn. My soul lies with autumn, and my past colors have died. My old self has fallen to the ground, but something beautiful replaces it, proving that life and death are one and the same. For each of us will die many times in life, shed our colors, and become something new. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Madeline. I am going to read one from Rita Coleman. She's unable to be here tonight, but I'm going to take it upon myself to read one of her poems. Again, this appeared first in the Mock Turtle Zine. I think it's really appropriate. It's called Her Haven. It's an homage to Glen, Helen Nature Preserve, Yellow Springs, Ohio. At 10, legs as long as a colt, she sprinted to the blue hole, splashed and shrieked with the rest, surfaced, skinned her hair back, wiped her eyes free of cold, magic water, only to plunge again, the afternoon burnished gold. When dinner beckoned her hungry stomach, she grabbed an old towel and trooped out of the glen with her friends, towards a hot meal paid for by food stamps. At 10, she did not know they were money poor, did not know the truck that rear-ended her mom had brought them to this paradise where the jewels of the glen awaited her each day, where she could sway on the old footbridge, each step a trial for balance, hands gripped on the rope thicker than her forearm, and swing across the music of the creek. She could inhale the forest of pine, trees with roots as big as elephant feet, lie on a bed of dried needles, marvel at the circle of treetops that opened to a winsome circle of blue. She entertained no thoughts of riches except for hot pink bubble gum, a game of Pac-Man, and a frosted can of Pepsi. She was raised in the preserve of century-old trees, the healing powers of the yellow springs, the rush of falling water, of crags of spring trilliums, of footpaths of freedom that wound through her haven. We've got to applaud the Glen. That's where we are, everyone. All right. Leroy, are you ready to join us up here for your reading? All right. Next up, Dayton native Leroy Bean.
When I say light, you say love, light, light. When I say light, you say love, light, light. Cool. How y'all feeling? Good. You look good. I know this is a poetry reading. I am Leroy Bean. I typically do a lot of spoken word poetry. Is it all right if I perform some poem for you guys? Okay. All right. Thank you. I have about two. This first one is called Gardens of the Ghetto. What is adversity to gardens of the ghetto but a seed from which we flourish? My foliage folk, who learned to sprout in the most inhumane conditions, broke from seedling and took root in spaces darker than the absence of color, clinging on to the little bit of loving fertilizer that they could wrap their stem around in their communal soil. We come from a land barren by design. They call our community a desert, but we still grow here, if not picked before our harvest for how we look. In food apartheid, we still seem to produce quality produce. We learn to photosynthesize from the light of our faith. We ground ourselves to the earth to cultivate a more conducive circumstance to curate a reality of our own. And after countless seasons of blooming petals to dying leaves, realizing that this version of ourselves won't make it, we propagate and evolve. We develop spines of resilience and tongues of thorn to keep evil and predators out of our garden. We become Eden. And the beautiful growth is just a testament to the struggles we've endured. So, what is adversity to gardens of the ghetto but a seed from which we flourish? Thank you so much. I have one more. This was created for a show at the University of Dayton, and I was asked a question to write it, and I want to ask you guys the same question, and you can just kind of pop up, you know, whoever wants to say no hands necessary. But the question is, what do we owe one another?
Everything. What do we owe what?
One another.
Love.
Love.
Compassion, understanding.
The truth.
Respect.
Respect.
Kindness. Listening.
Caring. Loyalty. Compassion.
Ourselves.
Being present. Trust.
Honesty.
Patience.
Presence. Playfulness.
Silence.
Appreciation.
Each other.
Well, that question is like, it's like, well, what does the bee owe to the flower? You know? Like what do the plants owe to our lungs, right? Like, what we owe one another is as the flame owes the candle, or the wind the sail. Even they respond with dancing flame tributes, or whistling songs of breeze and warmth. Only a phantom would answer nothing. Just an eerie supernatural silence, that cold shoulder to the common good that accompanies an abandoned shopping cart. One must be a myth, a parable of some sort, a moral to our existence, the reason there is a debt to pay in the first place. Do not think one lives here alone. Remember the world you were born into, ready to use and batteries included. I know I owe some apologies, some respect, owe some truth, owe dues, owe down, till death do us part, bought a vow, and now AE and I owe you one more than once. But maybe we start to think, well, what do we owe one another for? What product or service has gone unpaid for humanity? An act of kindness, a smile, a gift, that only one is qualified to give a voice containing concern and compassion capable of curing a bad day? I mean, what exactly is the price for that? Do we owe one another in payment or principle? What qualifies as currency in exchange for eternity? Does one even have change for infinity? For something priceless? How could we possibly pay it back? But maybe we pay it forward. And what we owe one another is what we owe our ancestors, what they owe theirs. We owe our lineage and our lives. We owe what life owes to the bodies of water. We owe our bodies, but they shall not be polluted. We owe what water owes to the earth. We owe different versions of ourselves as we transform through cycles. We owe what the earth owes the sun. We owe the earth. We owe what the sun owes to space. We owe our light and our energy. We owe what space owes to the Big Bang. We owe space enough to create our own universes. We owe what the Big Bang owes to God. We owe all the space and time and existence to exist, expand, explore, evolve. Everyone is owed the joy of being alive, of being beloved, of being ourselves. We owe ourselves. We owe as much as we can afford to give in this moment. Thank you, that's my time.
I'm gonna be a buffer between Leroy's reading and our next reader, because whoa. All right. This is actually a poem that I wrote, which I don't do very often here. I'm gonna read something that I wrote myself. So, trying not to lump together more unknowns. We know what we are, but know not what we may be. Ophelia, Hamlet, Act 4, Scene 5. Uncertainty looms heavy before sunrise. Dark driving, she calls it. At 5 a.m. to the hospital for her surgery. When she mentions losing our dog, Penny, a few months ago. Anxiously lumping together unknowns. And I had trouble focusing, but I tried to turn the conversation around with compliments. Her hair, outfit, shoes. But I shut down when she said, "It's okay, Dad. I know that living is dying." Stuck in the white shock of her wisdom, I wanted to say something to redirect us, but I couldn't decide whether she was that conscious of her own mortality or if she was just being a child, redirecting gravity away from her upcoming operation towards something more certain. At the last minute, the operation was canceled. As we walked out, my daughter took my hand because she knew I needed it, telling me she felt good. She said she still missed Penny, and she would miss her as long as she was alive. Me too, I said, but holding back on diving deeper, trying not to lump together more unknowns. As we headed home with just enough sun to get all the way there without headlights. Oh my gosh, Thank you all for attending. We're going to round it out with our final reader, Terralyn Meese. Before we do that, I want to remind you that after we're done, we will have a short break and intermission with some wine and cheese and chit-chatting, and hopefully you can buy some of the books that our poets have written. And then after that, we will have an open mic. And I'll be darned if that sign-up sheet has disappeared once again, but I rest assured it is around and it will be available. So again, thank you all so much for attending. Our final poet is Terralyn Meese.
Wow, nice job, everybody. Isn't this special? Get together like this. There's just nothing like it. I work at the Hainer, and we asked Ed to come out and help us start a poetry reading like this. I'd like to invite you all. It's in June. Look us up later, and maybe come to ours too. Thank you so much for inviting me, and here we go. This first one, I think this time of life, ladies, we deal with grief a lot. We gain a lot of skills, right? And things come, things go, you deal with them on a daily basis. This poem's called Index Betty. Out of loyalty or whatever, like most people, I only liked my mother's potato salad and deviled eggs. Lesson of the day. So today, I could not find my mother's recipe for deviled eggs. Where do you even file that? Hors d'oeuvres, vegetarian picnic? Nope. I felt a sense of loss that lives there always. But wait, I had Mother's old 1956 Betty Crocker cookbook. I was 17 when she bought a new one, and I wanted to, and she wanted to throw this one away, but I wanted it. So I had here the mother of all recipe sources. I found the little devils neatly filed in that immaculate index. All I'm saying is keep boiling those eggs. This is called Like an Angry Old Wind. Grief tosses around the tips of my trees and down my street and in my window, gaining and losing energy. It comes from somewhere. I don't need to know the truth of its origin to feel it on my face. A violence rises in me. I hear it muttering behind my ears as I move right and left, as I move toward you. Sometimes I think it is you, but the tongue is mine, and the lips are mine, and the words that spill onto the floor. Lift me. At 12, I clung to anything that could lift me from the prickliness of days and the stick of isolation and ignorance. It could be so simple as the green, green, green of summer grass exploding in my eyes, or the surprising asymmetric percussion of an unbalanced engine as it two-stepped down the street, or the million-year-old salty smell of a stone and its texture against my cheek. Any green or red or purple, harboring promise of another world that I could build myself, where feels get felt and smells get smelt, and any good rhythm could start a dance in the street. I like irony in a poem, and this one is called Worms of Our Emergence. It's a love poem. It's a poem about love. Am I too quiet? Worms of Our Emergence, a poem for young love. We live our lives like thinly skinned, grubby worms writhing and stretching in a gooey, squirmy gum without really knowing how to uncocoon. Leaving the perfection of the womb is hard. You cannot see what rebirth is. You have no sight, and smells are confusing. You squirm and flex to find yourself, even though it's your squirming that makes you most attractive to predators. Instinct can be a dangerous drive to a hungry mouth, for being devoured is a legitimate way of no longer being a worm. Days are precarious. You have to feel the shell crack to understand that you will leave it. You know you will have wings only when you spread them. What I'm trying to say is that you will grow without perfection. Learning to love can be sticky and gross and not easy. You do not yet understand the messy nature of your own rebirth or one another's. Be tender with those sticky, writhing worms inside you and those inside each other.
That's it. Thank you all so much. We'll be back in about a half hour. All right, anyway, our first open mic reader will be Deborah Williamson. I ask that open mic readers keep it to one poem, please. Please. Oh, I know everyone's got poems that they want to share that come bursting forth from their heart and soul. But I'm asking that we read one poem this evening in an effort to get me home. I've been awake all day. Deborah Williamson, you're up first. It's open mic. Keep it loose. Keep it tight.
Well, I was going to read 3, but since I'm only allowed to read 1, I'm going to just read this one. Hold the mic down. Okay, there we go.
I'm gonna hover.
Oh, yeah, go ahead. Okay, this is called Jason's Bass. The Fender Jazz Bass heard your last gasp when you ended your life 11 years ago. The headstock propped against the wall in a room heavy with the scent of bleach. That day I pulled from the window last year's Christmas gift, a deep purple fleece to wrap the guitar, and ferried the grieving instrument to my car. Until 2 weeks ago, your guitar sat in my closet, a lost memory tucked away behind musty winter coats. I was spring cleaning when I found it, propped and still wrapped in the corner. Curious, I Googled and found its value between $500 and $700. The guitar's body still wielded a heft in my hands. The slack, silent strings weighed on my heart too. I tightened the pegs, strummed the instrument to life, something I could not do for you. I called a local music store, asked if I could donate a jazz bass. The owner, Justin, said he'd put it to good use. I told him I'd bring it in soon. Later that day, as I wiped off some dust, I traced your fingerprints along the body and put it in my car. A week later, I met Justin outside his store. I blurted my son had killed himself more than a decade ago, that he loved playing this guitar before asking if he could let this instrument make music. He assured me his students would play on Jason's bass. If you ever need anything, he said, stop by, just ask. As I put the guitar in his hands, something deep inside released. As he lifted the weight from me, I turned away, and the loss of you shifted into giving, grieving your gifts away.
Coming out hitting heavy. Goodness gracious. That image of the slack strings really stuck with me. Kathy. Next reader is Kathy Austin.
Okay, well, thank you, first of all. I knew that the theme was stillness, but for some reason I got it into my head that it was silence. And so there's a difference there. This is called a different silence. On the bike path, I keep pedaling further and further from town, from roads, bridges, even farmers plowing their fields. I bike further into the woods, no houses nearby, until finally I hear what I have been searching. I hear a silence, except that there is still the stream gurgling as it follows the bike path, a few birds chirping in the trees, the wind stirring the branches. But what I don't hear are the particular sounds of machines, cars, excavators, a tractor plowing, a lawnmower. What I don't hear is a plane overhead at this moment, the usual gunfire from the shooting range near the wetlands, people laughing or shouting loudly, doors slamming. But there is a different silence from all of these. You don't have to escape to hear it. Silence in the face of insurrection, of unspeakable war crimes, the creeping climate change and its eerie heat, the virus no one masks up for anymore, or gets shots for. That silence as people bow to their phones, go to their hairdressers, watch football players bash into each other over and over, go to a nail salon, a movie, dinner with friends, go shopping, attend another party, rev up their motorcycles to see how loud they can be, drown out their silence, forget, forget, forget. So important to keep things normal, harder these days. It is this silence that scares me, makes me pedal faster, search the green leaf silence that will soothe me, quiet my mind. Thank you.
Thanks, Kathy. Fellow cyclist here. We call that the moving meditation. Carol Poley, you're up next.
So I grew up on Lake Erie, and every summer of my life, our family has always gone up to a little town called Vermilion, and there are many trains in Vermilion, and that was what had inspired this particular poem. It's called Night Trains. Deep in the darkness, a hum, soft as a kitten's purr, slips into the silence and slowly gains volume, ramping up to a rattle and then a rumble as it chugs its way into my consciousness. Now clanking and clanging, it sounds its first whistle, that dissonant blend of sharps and flats that stretches into a minor chord and pierces through the night. Two long blasts, one short, one long again. Hundreds of day trains clatter through town, hauling loads of lumber, coal, and ores, but night trains always haul memories. Crammed into freight cars like old diaries whose pages unfold into the cool night air, they fill the mind with story after story of forgotten childhood days. Long conversations with family at the lake, sitting with my father on the creaky porch swing while watching an afternoon storm. Summer nights at my grandparents' house, scent of honeysuckle wafting through the window, crocheting with my mother cuddled up near the fire. In haunting waves, the memories flow, then quickly fade to dreams. The rumble quiets, the whistle softens. In the wake, just a thin veil between now and forever.
Wow, this thread continues, right? These dichotomies, these juxtapositions, these oppositions, beginnings and endings. It happens, right? And we're here in the middle, like in the moment, right here. All right. While we're here in the moment, we're going to be hearing from Maxine Scuba. Maxine, I see you.
I had the choice between a serious one and a not so serious one, so I'm doing the not so serious. Okay, called Magical Thinking. My grandson, who I thought was too old for such things, would snap his fingers, hoping he would have won the word game on his computer, or that the phone number he was calling would stop the busy signals at his command. I did not take him to task, thinking reality would sneak up behind him and tap him on the shoulder. Then there's me, his grandmother, finally on a diet that I could stay on, but still insisting on immediate rewards and expecting a miracle. I went to weigh myself, though, taking off my shoes and most of my clothes. No extra ounces allowed. What? The same weight as 5 days ago? This can't be right. I need my reward for no bread, no sugar, no pasta. There must be a mistake. I repeat the ritual. My weight goes down a ½ pound. I repeat again, hoping I had dropped more weight in the last minute. And I had regained the ½ pound. I sadly tell the skinny gods that I will accept my present weight. No more bargaining. I slink out of the bathroom, still wishing that my magical thinking had worked.
Stephen, you're up next. I'm going to try to gauge your height from here. Come on up. I'm going to try to gauge your height, and I'm going to say... Ideal.
Good evening. My name's Stephen M. Webker, and thank you all for coming out this evening. Leroy asked us, what do we owe each other? I owe you a thank you. I literally just found out about this event last night when I was scrolling and his Facebook page came up, and I thought, it's Friday night, I've got to be there. So, and Janet, I saw that you were linked into that too, so thank you both for that. Again, my name's Stephen M. Webker. I'm the author of 2 books. My first one is called Pages Torn from a Plague. It came out in October of 22. And my second book is called Relentless Liminality, A Few Collections. It was released in February of this year. I'm going to be reading a selection from the second book. This is entitled, We Are All Time Travelers, Aren't We? Do you think a time traveler ever gets tired of acclimating, reacclimating, reanimating, reincarnating themselves just to fit in with the in crowd of the times? How far does one have to travel to be considered a time traveler? Travel is always measured in miles, even though it should not always be. Inward journeys are stationary, but the distance, it too is measured by space apart, even to the clairvoyant looking over their shoulder while standing on the rim of an abyss. Reanimating oneself so many times over time, projecting animated sketches throughout our lives, sometimes reality needs a break from us. Do you think anyone ever wishes bon voyage to a time traveler? Or do we do it every day, every time we say goodbye, as a loved one leaves for work, play, school, somewhere away from us? It's that distance thing again. Too far or never far enough. Aren't they the same, really? Especially if one can always reacclimate. That is, we are all time travelers, aren't we? My name is Stephen M. Webker, and thank you for listening.
Next up is Valerie Bickett. Valerie Bickett. Yes.
I think it explains itself. I'll just go ahead. The title is Cincinnati Camerata Devotes Annual Concert to the Virgin Mary. And it's 4 parts. 1, Advent, a Sunday night, inside the 2-spired Roman Catholic Mother of God Church in Covington, Kentucky. We await the coming of the Lord. Several hundred of us come in from the cold, flurrying and circling over our seats in the pews like dogs, and finally settling. We get our bearings and then take a look at the program. stop at the eye-catching photograph on the front cover of a black woman's hands, the back of her hands interlocked behind her head, white beads of a rosary intertwined around her fingers, a crucifix dangling right in the middle of the image, Jesus hanging on the cross nicely centered. We are behind her, several hundred white people now behind the Black Madonna, and we wait to hear from her. 2. In a season in which the songs are usually about her son, songs about Mary, said the promotion. Celebration of the feminine, the director said. Particular focus, the program indicated, on women of color. The white choir parades up the aisle in their black garb, takes their places and waits for the right moment to begin the anonymous Latin chants. Ave Maria Stella. To begin the anonymous Latin chant, Ave Maria Stella, which strikes me as it goes on and on, as well, hilarious. Hens in the hen house in a soprano dither. Still shrill, the second song shocks less, Advent antiphons. But oh, the third and fourth, Magnificats in the high registers. No clapping in between, just discreet coughing. Stellar, my friend says. Assaulting, I don't say. A hailstorm of the ethereal. Not the feminine, I think, but the white man's fantasy of the feminine, the songs he sings to himself when he wants his mother back. But not the whole mother, just the little girl she was. Gustav, Palestrina, Mouton, Pachelbel, Albinoni. 3. In the United States this year, over 400 justifiable homicides voluntarily reported by police. Blacks and the mentally ill, a huge percentage. The Feinstein Report, my country guilty of torture. But tonight, we are taking a break from the news, bathing our semicircular canals in dizzying waterfalls of swirling Western European hijinks. The angelic realm without the beloved earth, Asia, Africa, South America, Australia. We are not opening up the experience of being a woman. We are not praying with the mother of the gunned down. The origin of othering, sanitizing, picking and choosing, dismissing, looking the other way, partitioning off, splitting, dividing up, settling for part of the story. 4. Nevertheless, for the last song, Totus Tuus, the choir comes to the back where I sit and sings softly a world-famous song composed by Henryk Górecki of Poland for the third return in 1987 of their beloved native son, John Paul II. For 9 minutes, they chant over and over the words first of the Pope himself after an assassination attempt, I am completely yours, Mary. And then words from a Polish girl, Teresa Bogudlowska, who died at 16 after being tortured in the Warsaw Uprising, with the same phrase, I am completely yours, Mary. Totus tuus, Maria, I am completely yours, Mary. Totus tuus, Maria, I am completely yours, Mary. Mater mundi, mother of the world. The choir lullabying me, letting me drift off to sleep in their arms and not leaving, not tiptoeing out and leaving me alone, but doing that thing my mother learned in sensory awareness that allowed her to finally touch me when I was in my 40s. Holding, while I was lying down, my foot a few inches off the floor, then slowly lowering it, but not all the way. Just when I thought she would put it down, she would pick it up and repeat this over and over. Lower it almost to the ground and then pick it back up. Lower it within centimeters of the floor and then pick it back up. Just when I thought the song was over, the Mater Mundis would begin again. Tears coming out of somewhere. My foot caught in the slats of the crib. My father finally, after an hour, defying his wife's orders not to give in to my screaming, and coming upstairs to free me. Just when I thought no one was coming, just when I thought the song was over, the Mater Mundis would begin again. Mother of the world, mothers of the world, endless patience, endless time, endless holding, rest, rest, rest. Thank you.
Robert, you're up next. Robert Pacheco.
Hello and thank you. Ginkgo leaves have fallen. Now their bell has tolled. Heard cold winter calling. Rendered up their gold. Leafless stands the poplar. Green still decks the pine. Maple trees have pressed from sap their brimming crimson wine. Button up your overcoat, hats off to the host. Drink in brisk October air, to autumn raise a toast. Shoed foot is the stylus, leafy path the groove, crackling breaks the silence as down trail I move. Trees have left a record of their time aloft. On spinning earth from leaves, my feet a rustling song draw forth. Heading for November, past the heat of June, tonight, non-stop, from height will drop black vinyl of new moon. Eating a health food cookie beneath a 3/4 moon. Who took a bite out of you, buddy? This evening on my porch, the moon, myself, and stillness. The stars are gate crashing our cozy party, posting their own guest list, arriving in tuxedos and black satin gowns. We're kicking it, getting down, pulling out all the stops, break out another bottle of silence. The moon ducks into the changing room of a cloud, tries on some gauzy finery, then slips out again, arrayed in opalescent fire. We're flying under electricity's radar tonight, dancing in the dark, our bandwidth, the troughs between the ocean swells, the tips of bat wings, the spill of twilight over sable sands. Thank you.
A bottle of silence. Alexandra Scott. Colleen Alexandra.
I'm Alexandra Scott. This isn't exactly on theme, but it's something I thought was worth sharing. Bear with me for the first few lines, and I think you'll see. In The Sims 4, Sims who follow the best-selling author aspiration can gain the poetic trait. Poetic Sims can capture life itself in a book and wield it to bring back someone they've lost. And I wonder how many poets they must have had in the EA offices. Because there are days when the space between every breath conjures long-lost laughter, and I can see her smile when you describe it. I've watched stories bring shadows to life to dance beside us as though they never left. Maybe poets know better than anyone the power of memory, that you can keep someone with you in your heart, no matter how far away they go. That every misplaced footstep, awkward moment, the crooks of elbows intertwined, leaves imprints like potter's hands on a soul. We know what it's like when a song transports you to your high school best friend's backseat, to the diner after that long night, to the bonfire long ago burned out. We know the back-breaking weight of grief, the hue of the sky when seen from the very bottom, the power to speak life into darkness. We know that there are some things no grave can take away. Thank you.
The space between poets. Sabrina Faith.
Great day, everyone. I'm Sabrina Faith. Hi. It's a wonderful day to be alive, and I'm grateful to be here and so thankful to see you all. Please be blessed by this collaboration with God that we love to call Unfortunate Side Piece. Take your time. As it is to you, it does belong. But don't let time take you, as such a fate for your fabulous frame is nothing short of wrong. You had better not ever allow someone outside of your own authority to come along and declare over your life that how you think, what you do, who you are is not strong. Come here, baby. In the words of my mama, the devil is a lie. As he who's in me through my spirit, through my soul, birthed the gigantic song. And I will take my time to sing it proud, to sing it long, to snap and clap off beat as I vibe to my delirious jam while taking happy hits from a bong. For I have wisdom enough to know I am the life that I want. So don't keep the peace just to get along, cause screw peace. I'm pushing for increase, which doesn't include being married to a fool who dismissed his life-speaking queen in favor of an unfortunate side piece. Glad it wasn't a situation that escalated to a visit from police, since facing such hurt, such disrespect could leave a person in a state of decease. Laying in the bed on the phone with the other as I suffered emotional decrease. Then bold enough to say to me, even with our daughter, I'm canceling the lease. In that moment, my ego was bitter. It was bruised. Yet in time comes distance with a matured hindsight view engulfed in beauty. For each situation in our lives is tethered to a lesson. Do well to catch it, as achieving growth is our own personal duty. Be unto you the love that is everything you unexpected. Use time to nurture your mind with the knowledge of self to a point that when an enemy comes, you are everything but unprotected. Always walk in your power, filled with the freedom that must be respected. Be self-full, for your inner shine shouldn't ever be diminished nor neglected. At this present time, I am bold enough to say, even with our daughter, I appreciate your bravery on us to cancel the lease. Because when I laid in the bed on the phone with an ex, you must have suffered emotional decrease. And facing such hurt, such disrespect, can leave a heart in a state of decease. And on me like you could have called for a visit from police. As now, your life-speaking queen I mistook for an unfortunate side piece. Because oftentimes, in order to achieve increase, comes the cost of a loss to reach peace. Now allow me to commemorate this win with a hard, fast hit from the bong. The lessons learned throughout our union will continue to flow throughout my life, years long. Adding another verse to rehearse within the composition of my audacious song. To declare over my life that how I think, what I do, who I am is strong. Can't handle that? It's all good. But baby, trust and don't get stuck. Keep it moving along. The joining of us to you was time wasted. To each other, we were wrong. But to me, for a time, for a season, to pave a way to this present full of reason, we did belong. To God be the glory. Be encouraged on this day, and no matter what, you had better always keep the faith. I am Sabrina Faith and my beautiful young one, Layla.
Whoa. Still hot. James, go on.
How the hell am I supposed to follow that? This is kind of a nature poem. It's called the Beaver Lake Bait Store. Big sign out in front of the Beaver Lake Bait Store reads, "Live bait sandwiches." So I go in and I ask for a night crawler on rye with ketchup and onion, a soft craw club with mayo, a side of strawberry dough, and a comma to go. The lady behind the rooster tail said, "We don't have that." She stared at my beard and my hat and said, "I think we do have fish sticks." I could pop them in the microwave. I said, "Do you have tartar sauce?" She said, "No. You look like the fish sticks type to me. We don't have any tartar sauce." Thank you.
I don't eat fish sticks without tartar sauce. Fran Simon, do you? Well, you're up next.
I do want to say when I came back after the break, you'll know my years of meditation in practice halls. I almost bowed when I entered the door. And then I laughed, and I thought I should, because this is holy space, because poetry is the language of the soul. Practicing patience, my lifelong practice. Practicing patience, stanzas written in haiku form. Practicing patience, akin to watching grass grow. Impatience rising. Impatience rising. Notice its jagged edges. No hiding place here. No hiding place here. Now only surrendering. A long, slow exhale. A long, slow exhale. My breath rising and falling. Stillness and silence. Stillness and silence. Body rocking with my pulse, at home in myself. At home in myself, impatience, patience. My guests come and go freely.
Rose.
Hi. This is about my great-grandmother who was purchased as a wife. To buy a body. I am learnt of male anger, though I am not angry. I am learnt of male tasks, though I will never be man. The knowledge I consume, familial and not, leaves the tannic taste of rage on each bud upon my tongue. The legs in which I stand are strong and have seen more lives than I can fathom. Painted in black and white are the ripples of the thumping in my chest, but it's way more nuanced than that. Once full of spit from the poisoned gut is the face of my mother's 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 father. How did I even get here? What do I do now? I don't even know your real name, and I don't know if I ever will.
Thank you. This is a gift and a blessing to be among
creative people and poets and people who feel the world and see it in different ways. It's been a really challenging couple of weeks for myself and my husband. I'm not going into all of that. But this week, I wrote a poem unaware of what the theme was for tonight. It's called Still Life. December dawn, light lays itself over the silvered grass, paints a base ochre coat over the hollowed stalks of sunflower death, all color gone to seed, birds flown or roosting, last summer's nests abandoned now in the leafless branches. Day oozes increments of energy and warmth. Darkness claims its due, creeping into garden beds, poking gloveless fingers among boughs laden with swollen evergreen cones, clever guardians against future need. Even the rabbits burrow deep and field mice cuddle beneath the upturned bird bath, saving their solstice greetings for the moment when the earth tilts sunward, assuring us that deep in our lacerated souls, there is still life.
Super lovely verb choices there, right? Cuddling and oozing. All right. Kathy, would you like to read? Kathy Essinger.
This is a poem in honor of Christmas and Santa and Mock Turtle Zine, where it first appeared. The title is How Kids Believe in Santa, and it has an epigraph, Children are inherently credulous beings, from the psychiatrist who writes for Huffington Post, Jacqueline Woolley. Christmas Eve, and we FaceTime friends in Osaka just to check on Santa's progress. They have already opened presents, are moving on to Christmas dinner, while we are still looking for the snowman pajamas and wiping frosting from the upholstery. They assure us that Santa is making good time, despite storms along both coasts. We get out the globe, show the children how he must be moving ahead of the sun, meeting rooftops in Switzerland, eating Lebkuchen in Germany, before skimming over Wales and moving up the East Coast, only minutes away by reindeer time. We hustle the children off to bed while Dad explains how Santa warps time in order to cover the globe in a single night. We lay on the evidence, quote sources, throw in a little string theory, until even the 9-year-old is beginning to look a bit credulous. At midnight, we go out to stand on the porch, wrap our arms around cold shoulders, and scan the horizon while Venus shines a little brighter, aware of her responsibility. We look both east and west, wondering where the time zones meet, where dawn is breaking, and surprised to see a gibbous moon still low on the horizon. We confess to one another that we have never really understood the simplest of astronomies, the spinning of the planet, phases of the moon, but we still believe in the magic of moonlight here on Christmas Eve, even now when there is obviously enough wonder to spare.
Yeah, I really like that one. Val, I don't want to mispronounce your last name. Suffice it to say that you are our last reader, Val. Stepien. I probably could have gotten that out. 3 syllables that I know well.
Good evening. This is a poem that I wrote, let me find it here, last year at the winter solstice. It's called Peace. What can I say about my friend Peace? For one, I realize I don't spend nearly enough time with her. She always offers kind words whenever she comes. Even her honesty is accompanied by a calm that helps relieve resistance. Whenever she comes by, we all feel so grateful and ask her where she's been and tell her how much we've missed her. She smiles, a knowing smile. She knows she's been here all along. It's amazing how she illuminates the room as she floats in, her wispy, iridescent dress flowing behind her, her long, dark curls cascading down her back. Today, when she comes, I find myself wanting some time alone with her, so we sit a while in a cozy corner of the room. I tell her I need her advice. I find myself whispering, "Please, tell me, how can I be more like you? When you're around, I'm so calm and happy, but as soon as you're gone, I find that I lose myself so easily, and I'm lost and afraid." She smiled so endearingly at me. "My dear friend, I'm always here. You only need be still and know. Let any thoughts that are not peace rise up. Attach a helium balloon to each to assist it on its way. Let the whole sky be alight with all the balloons floating up into the atmosphere. What a lovely sight to see. What a service to humankind. Thoughts of not enough, comparison, greed, hatred, fear, war. Don't believe in them. Let them float away, for they serve no one truly. And remember, even though you think I'm rarely present, I am always right here." And with that, she reached out and touched my heart with such tenderness that it broke open and 1,000 butterflies were set free. I felt the peace of her deep inside of me. She wasn't sitting next to me anymore, but it felt like she hadn't left. Right then and there, I vowed to spend more time with her every day. I vowed to remember when I get caught up in judgment and fear towards myself or another, to reach in for her. I vowed to check my thoughts to see if they are true or not, and to attach a helium balloon to those thoughts not worthy of retaining. I vowed to take a stand for peace in the world by being peace whenever I could manage to remember. I vowed to sit in stillness and remember. I prayed, wherever I am in the world, make me an instrument of thy peace.